Good evening, everybody. Today, we'll be doing another Modern Cube League. Now, we have a few different picks here, of which I think Dark Confidant is the pretty clear choice. Unless I wanted to start fixing. Dark Confidant is just such an absurdly high power level and a great card to start your draft with. So we're going to go with that. Alright, second pick I am not as thrilled about. I guess Languish or Doom Whisperer is technically correct. Eidolon of the Great Revel I think would be actually too much self-damage. Unless we wanted to take it and kind of speculate on maybe going mono-red again. Though I don't know how many times I want to do that. I'm going to take the Languish. We'll see. We might just build like a mono-black mid-range deck. Kind of depending on what's available here. Okay, Shadow Spear is a great way to gain a bunch of life. Sword of Body and Mind is a way to win the game, even though I don't like the sword. Go for the Throat, decent removal spell. Shieldred, a little more expensive than I want to play with Bob. Marsh Flats could be okay if we ended up getting like a Fatal Push or just for splashing a different color, because like black-white is definitely a color combination. I think I'm going to take the sword. Odds are we want to keep our curve low, and sword kind of helps us do that a little bit. Vampire Hexmage is like probably going to wheel. I think I take the Black Cleave Cliffs, because there's a lot of like low mana cost red cards that go well along with Bob. So yeah, Luca's a little too expensive. Hexmage will probably wheel, so Black Cleave Cliffs it is. Alright. So we definitely have the makings of like a black-red aggro deck. Olivia Voldaren is really good, but kind of a mid-rangey threat. I think Thundermaw is probably too good to pass. We'll take Thundermaw. Murderous Redcap is actually not that bad. It's sort of a pseudo-Ravenous Chupacabra that can ping off small creatures or inch in the last little bit of damage. But I'm going to go with Rotting Regisar, because it's massive and only 3 mana. Ashiok and Sorin are a little bit higher CMC than I want. I think I'd rather take Chandra or even Eat to Extinction in this particular deck as it's shaping up right now. Blood Crypt is fantastic. Definitely going to take the Blood Crypt. Basically, 2 untapped early dual lands in your colors are fantastic when you're playing aggressive to a mid-range style deck. Alright, Dragon Skull Summit is more fixing and like guarantees we can hit all of these double red costs. Tassiger and Bob do not go in the same deck. Eldest Reborn and Bob do not go in the same deck. The other consideration would be Porcelain Legionnaire. There's a 2-mana 3/1 first strike is pretty aggressive. I think I'm just going to take the Dragon Skull Summit though. We're pretty cemented in taking these colors. So if Eidolon came all the way around the table, we know that red's going to be open. Which I believe was in this pack here, if it ever shows up. Alright, somebody took Eidolon. Lava Claw Reaches, I guess we can take as more fixing. I think I'd rather have the Isolated Chapel just in case. I don't really want to play tap lands if I can, and Isolated Chapel should come in untapped at least some of the time. Marsh Flats is fantastic. If we go 3-color, we can get Plains as well. Otherwise, this is just a fetch for Blood Crypt, which is pretty fantastic. Dreadhorde Arcanist is also really reasonable, but we have nothing that synergizes with it yet. I'm not thrilled about this, but I'll take Luca. I guess Silverblade Paladin. I don't think I'm playing like any of these cards. Okay, why can't I put these in piles like I was able to the other day? I don't think we're playing any of those cards right there. Maybe Assassin's Trophy, but once again, everybody completely undervalued fixing. And we got like the best aggro fixing for these 3 colors. So Ranger of Eos is something I could actually see us playing, especially if we get some early game plays like Kytheon as an example. I don't think Kytheon is first pickable here. It might be. Wormcoil Engine or Grave Titan or Inferno Titan would be great in your standard like red-black sort of deck. Problem is, I can't play cards that high mana cost with Bob. Just, like, no matter how good they are, we just die to Bob doing that. I think I'll take Kytheon, and we'll try and do some sort of black-white or Mardu aggro. We definitely have the fixing to support it, so kind of pains me to do this, but Kytheon. Alright, Rabblemaster, Bolt, Student of Warfare, Disfigure, even Mana Tithe. I would be happy with all of those. Smuggler's Copter as well. Rabblemaster is probably one of the single strongest cards by itself, which means I probably have to take it, despite the fact that Lightning Bolt is not going to wheel, like 100%. Kind of sad those both came in this pack. Something from this pack that fits our deck should wheel, even if it's just Mana Tithe, so we'll take Rabble. Phyrexian Arena is a little slow. We already have Bob. Sunlance is pretty terrible. Nightveil Spectre might actually be castable. I think I'm going to take Bloodghast. It's not amazing, but it is an aggressive dude and can help keep sneaking in damage because it's hard to kill. Firecraft or Chain Whirler might not be bad either, but Chain Whirler being triple red is, I think, going to be a little bit difficult. I've got the feeling that we're getting cut, but there's nothing I can do about it. Wooded Foothills can get Blood Crypt. Otherwise, there's Hazaret. There's Giver of Runes for Ranger of Eos, not Ranger Captain. Lingering Souls would be a good pick. I think I'm going to take Giver. Hazaret's really good. Like, really good. And so is Lingering Souls. But I think Giver is the best card for this deck right now. The only reason I say not Hazaret is because our curve is a little bit high with some of the cards we're thinking about playing. If Hazaret comes all the way around, I will play her. But there's a Gifted Aetherborn. This is another double black on turn 2 kind of card. There's a Shivan Fire for removal. We don't really have removal yet. I think the Shivan Fire is probably the pick. Alright, there's a Goblin Guide and an Incinerate. And an Anguished Unmaking. We'll take Goblin Guide. Bone Crusher Giant is actually fantastic. And Bombat Courier is also good. We'll take the Giant. We don't have green for Klothys. Rakdos Return's probably the most likely of the cards we could take here. We could take Call of the Death Dweller, but we're not really doing like aristocrat-y things. We're not expecting our creatures to be in the grave. So we'll take Rakdos Return. Mind Shatter is almost as good, except for we're probably not getting... it's not dealing damage, right? So our options are Mizzium Mortars or Cast Out. Mizzium Mortars is just proactive enough that we can probably get away with that. Student of Warfare requires us to commit really, really hard to white. So I think we just take the Copter here. I'll take Sunlance if I need additional removal. I'm not thrilled about it. Lingering Souls going all the way around is pretty great. Souls tokens wield swords pretty well. So we're kind of a very janky... like, I've kind of combined the mono-red archetype with the, like, black-white attrition dudes. Just because we got the fixing to cover it, so... I mean, hopefully it works. We'd like a Sacred Foundry or a Godless Shrine, and another fetch land if we could get them. If we had that, we would basically have perfect mana. If it comes down to Cratermaker or Doomfall, I think we have to take the dude. Lyra is technically top-end playable, and Knight of the Reliquary in the side. Let's see what pack 3 gets us. There's an Abrade, there's a Mutavault. This is a little awkward. I guess Abrade is probably what we have to take. A colorless land is not really playable in a 3-color deck, even one that's as good as Mutavault. If we were mono-red or just black-white, I would say yes. We don't have enough black mana symbols for Grey Merchant. In fact, we may not even be playing Bloodghast, and black is probably our splash color. So we're probably base red-white, which means Abrade. We definitely don't have enough instants and sorceries for Bedlam Reveler. Spectral Procession is probably going to come around because most people don't take it. So Abrade it is. There's a Kroxa. Kroxa in this deck is decent. So is Thraben Inspector, Zergo, and Verdant Catacombs. All 3 of those are relevant to us. I'm going to take Kroxa just because it's the biggest threat. And I still wouldn't mind having more like playable creatures. Sacred Foundry. That's what I was looking for. So Sacred Foundry helps make our mana base perfect. Marsh Flats can fetch Sacred Foundry or Blood Crypt, meaning we'll have access to most of our colors at any given time. Pack rats. Ugh. I think I have to go the Sacred Foundry. I don't want to pass pack rat, but I hope nobody takes it. Okay. There's a Luminous Brood Moth, a Hangerback Walker, or a Ferocidon. Considering we're kind of base red, then white, and splashing black, Ferocidon is a pretty decent creature, but so is Hangerback Walker. It's kind of a tough call for me. I think Ferocidon is slightly better because we're a little bit more aggressive than defensive, and I think Hangerback Walker, I think we need Rampaging Ferocidon. I think it's going to be a little bit better. So Stoneforge Mystic isn't bad here because we do have Sword of Body in mind. Glint Sleeve Siphoner is a pseudo Bob. Dreadbore is removal for anything that could be perceived as a problem. There's a lot of stuff in this pack for us too. I think Glint Sleeve Siphoner probably has the highest upside. Rekindling Phoenix isn't bad. I think I'm going to play Stoneforge though, because we might see another sword in the last little bit here. And Stoneforge makes them very good. Monastery Mentor, Flame Slash Faith Fetters, or... oh gosh. There's another... like, we were definitely supposed to be, I think, straight black-white. Monastery Mentor, our 3-drop slot's getting kind of heavy, but we do have a decent number of non-creature spells. And Monastery Mentor is very good. If we had a lot more 1-mana spells, I think Monastery Mentor would be way better. I think our best pick is either Tidehollow Sculler or Flame Slash. I think I need removal the most, and Tidehollow will probably come around, so I'm going to take Flame Slash. Scalding Tarn, Savai Triome is the perfect land. Is the perfect land for this deck. There's a Scalding Tarn, and then there's also Terror of the Peaks. I think I need the Terror of the Peaks. It's just too strong. I don't want to take a tap land, and the Scalding Tarn would be nice because it could fetch either of our dual lands. Yeah, I gotta go Terror. Quarantine Field is one of those cards that I absolutely adore. I've tried to make this work in modern decks before as removal because I really, really like it. The problem is it's just so awkward to have to cast most of the time. But like 6 mana Oblivion Ring 2 things is amazing. I'm gonna take Magma Jet. It goes to face. It kills stuff. It's great. Spectral Procession's probably what I have to take here. I don't think I can play double black on turn 2, which means I'm getting rid of Bloodghast. I don't really want top end that tall, and Blessed Alliance is almost purely defensive, so Thraben Inspector it is. Oh my god, Pack Rat came all the way around. Woo! That's fantastic. Oust, I don't want my opponent gaining life, even at the expense of really, really good removal. So Brood Moth, Dreadbore, Tidehollow Sculler, and sideboard card. Oh man, sorry, I just like really had my day catch up with me in the last like 2 seconds. I did my streaming today, and then I went to my appointment. It was fine, and I came back home and was basically exhausted. So let's see what we're doing here. I can actually probably play the Silverblade Paladin. I cannot play this Bloodghast. Return is reach, but it's probably a little suspect. Same with Procession. Triple white might be very difficult. I'm gonna cut Mizium Mortars is probably our most situational kill spell. A Braid is not as good as it could be here, and I really wish that Shivan Fire was Burst Lightning. We do need some removal, and I am gonna keep this in. Acolyte of Flame. I think I'm gonna cut Acolyte of Flame. It's not bad, but like we just cut most of our spells that we can flash back with it, and yeah, I just don't think it's good. Lyra Dawnbringer, we can bring in the like aggro mirror kind of thing as a way to try and break the symmetry and gain a whole bunch of life and stuff. Luminous Broodmoth, I think, is a fantastic card. Basically, none of our creatures fly by default until you get to the 5-drop slot. But I think to keep the mana as easy as possible, I'm going to drop Luminous Broodmoth, and we're going to run it like this. So then we run all of these lands, add basics. Okay, let's take a look at what we're doing. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 black sources to splash a number of black cards. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red sources. Okay, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 white sources. Hang on, is that right? Do we only need 5 white sources? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white sources. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9 red sources. Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Alright, let's do it. It's a pretty even distribution of mana cost symbols. We have a lot of hard mana costs on 2, so we have to be very careful with how we sequence our lands based on what's in our hand and what we could draw. The good news is we're not playing any tap lands except the check lands, which most of the time should come in untapped because we have fetches, duels, or fetches, shocks, and lots of typed basic lands. So turn 2 Dreadbore, turn 3 Rabble. I'm gonna keep. Got all of our colors, at least one of each. So we start Swamp. Pass the turn. Swamp gives us the most options on turn 2, because like if I draw a Tidehollow Skeller, I want to play it. Okay. Sword of Body in Mind. Alright. Yeah, this isn't an instant, so Isolated Chapel, pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. Play a mountain. Play Rabble Master. So for my opponent being blue-white, I suspect they have a lot of counter spells and removal. Mana Tithe hurts a lot. Okay, opponent plays a Plains. Play Marsh Flats. Play Sword of Body in Mind. Okay, it resolves. We're going to fetch up a Sacred Foundry tapped at our opponent's end step. I think the blue-white cube archetype is Flicker. It's like Control and Flicker. Okay. Opponent has a Brazen Borrower, which Thundermaw, if it resolves, will kill on spot. Opponent plays a Plains. Opponent's going to Spark Double, copy their Brazen Borrower with a 1/1 counter. Alright, well that one's not going to die. But the other one will. So fetch up Sacred Foundry. Tapped. Untap. Draw Rotting Regisar. Play a Mountain. Play Thundermaw. We'll ping down the smaller Brazen Borrower and tap the larger one. Go to combat, hit our opponent for 5. Oh, my opponent has Dismember. Okay. Well, at least they take a lot of damage. Okay, opponent hits us for 4, down to 12. We untap, we draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp. Play Regisar. Dreadbore their 4/2. Pass the turn. At our upkeep, I think we can discard a Mountain pretty safely. That way we have 3 of every color on the board when we play this Plains. Opponent Dungeon Geists. That sucks pretty hard until we can find removal. Get a Giver of Runes. So play Giver. Equip Giver. Pass the turn. Opponent attacks us for 3. Sure. We go to 9. Okay, opponent plays a Whirler Rogue. And then ousts our Giver of Runes. Which I think means it's game over. Yeah. We're not drawing anything for 2 turns. That is the power of Oust. If you're doing enough damage every turn and you're playing against an aggro opponent, making them redraw their guys like that really sucks. I'm going to bring in Shivan-Fire and a Braid. I'm going to go down. I think Regisar is probably a little bit sketch. And so Silverblade Paladin. Try it like this. We'll play first. Oh, this hand is really slow. Let's try and keep something with a 1-drop, shall we? I mean, this works for me. So we're going to shuffle our deck if we resolve Ranger Captain. So we're just going to put Terror of the Peaks on the bottom. This hand is really good because we have access to all of our colors of mana. We can play Sacred Foundry into Dragonskull Summit Tidehollow, which is a pretty strong start. We could follow it up with Smuggler's Copter and basically never have to risk the Tidehollow if we don't want to. We draw another land. Ranger Captain helps reload our hand. So, start Sacred Foundry tapped, pass the turn. Gonna play the Plains. We draw Blood Crypt, play Sacred Foundry. White-black, play Tidehollow Sculler. Let's see. Opponent has Snapcaster Mage, Master of Waves, Hero Bladehold, Dungeon Geists. I'm gonna take Snapcaster because my opponent's holding all 4-drops, so hopefully we can do something before our opponent actually resolves a creature. They play an island, and they pass. We untap, we draw a Braid. So play Blood Crypt tapped, go to combat, attack for 2. Play Smuggler's Copter. So the bad news is we have no way to answer this Master of Waves or Hero Bladehold right now. The only one of their creatures we can actually deal with is this Dungeon Geists. Okay, opponent plays a Plains. They do have a 3-drop, and it's Teferi Time Raveler. Opponent's kind of in an awkward position. If they try and unsummon, they can get back their Snapcaster. This gives us another chance to take cards from their hand, though, and then we can just hit Teferi and kill him. So play a Plains, play Tidehollow, take another look at our opponent's hand. I'm going to take Master of Waves, because the other cards I can actually deal with. Crew up the Copter, go to combat, attack and kill Teferi. I am going to loot, discard Lingering Souls. We're going to leave up Stomp and a Braid. We could flashback Lingering Souls here, but I think the removal is more important. When it plays an island, our best bet would be if they played Dungeon Geists. Yep. Okay. So, a Braid Dungeon Geists. We draw Dark Confidant. Bob's pretty good, so play Bob. Crew with Bob. Go to combat. Attack here and here. I'm going to loot. Yeah, I'm going to discard Goblin Guide. Did our opponent for 5 down to 13, and I am going to flashback Lingering Souls. Because now if my opponent plays out Hero of Bladehold, it's not that great. We have a bunch of stuff that can fly over the top of it. They play an island, which isn't the flooded strand that they're holding that we saw. So, opponent did not hide that much information from us. They play a Hero of Bladehold. We untap. Bob finds us Rabble Master. We get a Sword of Body and Mind. So, through the Copter with Confidant. Go to combat. Attack for 5 in the air. I'm going to loot. Okay, I'm going to discard Ranger Captain at this point. Hit our opponent for 5. And I'm going to play Giver, and I'm going to play Sword. Just makes it harder for them to, like, draw an answer because they have to have... They'll have to have an instant speed answer, and we'll have Giver of Runes to protect ourselves. Opponent attacks with Hero. They stack the triggers correctly. No blocks. Opponent finally plays their Flooded Strand. They do have a Snapcaster, but it's not like that matters. They play a Looter Eel Core, so their hand is Snapcaster 1 unknown. Bob flips Thundermaw. We draw Magma Jet. So equip Sculler. Crew with Bob. Go to combat. Attack, 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 attack. I'm going to loot. Discard Ferocidon. So my opponent has a Spell Queller, which they can use to block the Copter. Because if they block a Spirit, they die. Actually, they just die regardless. Because as soon as they block the Copter, we can just Magma Jet their face, and then they'll take enough damage they lose. Okay. We're going to let the trigger resolve. I want to see what else is in their deck. Lands, Legionnaire, Journey to Nowhere, Mirran Crusader. Alright. Seen enough? Okay. I think because my opponent has Master of Waves, I actually want Sunlance over Shivan Fire, despite Shivan Fire being better in the average case. It's possible that I should be cutting even more of my other non-creature stuff to be playing like Shivan Fire and Mizium Mortars. But I think in general I want to try and aggro my opponent out. Alright, well we've got a 1 and a 2, and we have all of our colors of mana, so at least that's not a concern this game. When it starts Plains, we untap, we draw Dragon Skull, which is not what we want to be drawing. Play Goblin Guide. Go to combat. Opponent recklessly representing Mana Tithe without actually having Mana Tithe. Revealing Mirren Crusader. That's a problem. Because we need to have red mana to deal with Mirren Crusader. Or Sunlance. We need a red removal spell to deal with it. I'm saying Dreadbore doesn't kill it. Okay, opponent takes 2. They play an island and pass the turn. We draw Dark Confidant. So go to combat, try and draw out some kind of trick. Opponent draws a Plains. No tricks or blocks. Play a mountain. Play Confidant. Ah, the other Mana Tithe. Okay. Opponent plays a Plains, and here comes Mirren Crusader. We draw only mana. Just realized that Marsh Flats only grabs a Swamp or a Blood Crypt, considering that we're holding Sacred Foundry, which is what I would have fetched. But I do want to thin my deck, see if I can't actually draw a removal spell that'll kill that Mirren Crusader. Okay, opponent attacks for 4, no blocks. We go to 16. Opponent plays a Master of Waves. So fetch up Blood Crypt tapped. Opponent gets a single elemental. Draw Thraben Inspector. Play a Plains. Play Inspector. Get a token. Draw a card. Draw Rabble Master. Okay. No attacks because we can't. Have to be careful when we play this Rabble Master because it makes our Goblin Guide attack. Actually, with that knowledge, I'm probably going to trade the Guide for this Elemental. It's really awkward when you have one of the best removal spells in the game, and your opponent has 2 creatures, each have protection from one of its colors. Okay. Opponent plays a Whirler Rogue. Well, that's something that dies to Dreadbore. We draw a Bone Crusher Giant as well. So, stomp the Crusader. Play Chapel. And I think we play the Giant. Pass the turn. We're going to need some pretty good draws for that to work, though. Us getting pathed is not part of the plan. So what gets us out of this? Thundermaw would be a fantastic start. If we top deck Thundermaw, resolved it, killed their Thopters. We don't have Lightning Helix. We don't have much ways to regain life. Okay, block here. Yeah, Thundermaw would get us pretty close to being back in this game. Hey. So play Dragon Skull. Play Thundermaw. Please resolve. Please resolve. Please resolve. Let me kill those Thopter tokens. Yeah! Thopter's down. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 5. Snapcaster Path? Ugh, that's disgusting. Okay, I guess. Because my opponent has ways to replay their creatures, I think my best bet is to Dreadbore Whirler Rogue. We would have to rip removal like off the top and hope our opponent like is holding a land and draws a land, and then maybe Rabble Master can do enough damage to win. If we draw Terror of the Peaks and can resolve Terror of the Peaks and then Goblin Rabble Master to ping down our opponent's Snapcaster, that'd be our absolute highest upside. Stoneforge Mystic is also somewhat reasonable. So play Stoneforge Mystic. Opponent has Spell Queller. Exiling Stoneforge. I guess Rabble Master we should have played first. So play Rabble Master. Sacred Foundry tapped. Make a token, and has to attack. Well, I think my opponent just had the answers. Path Snap Path is really, really hard to beat in a cube format when your deck is like mid-range creatures. Journey to Nowhere. My opponent didn't even block. Okay, so we go to 1. If we get a removal spell that can kill Spell Queller, we're still in this game. Pack Rat is not what I asked for. Well, damn. That was close. I'll see you guys in round 2. Alright, we'll play first. Kroxa, Cratermaker, Smuggler's Copter. I'm cool with this. I wish we had white mana, because starting with Thraben Inspector would make this a lot better. So, start Swamp, pass the turn. I think I'm going to start by playing a Copter. Opponent plays Shelldock Isle. Okay. Exiles a card face down. We untap and draw a Sacred Foundry. Don't play a mountain, play a Copter. Pass the turn. Opponent plays Bloodstained Mire, fetches. Oh no, okay, never mind. We draw planes. Alright. Play Kroxa. Okay, triggers on the stack, we'll crew up the Copter. Opponent discards an island and takes 3 damage. Kroxa gets sacked. Go to combat. Attack for 3 and loot. I'm going to loot away this swamp. Opponent takes 3 and goes to 14. Play plains, play Thraben Inspector, and pass the turn. Okay, opponent cracks Bloodstained Mire for Watery Grave. Tapped. They play a Drowned Catacomb. Opponent plays Liliana, Heretical Healer. We draw Sword of Body and Mind. Crew the Copter. Go to combat. Attack. Loot. I'm going to discard Goblin Cratermaker. I know that's one of our only creatures, but I want to resolve this sword. So play Marsh Flats. Play sword. Pass the turn. Okay, opponent plays a swamp. They're going to Extinction Event, naming Odd. Well, they lose their own guy that way. Crack Marsh Flats, get a Blood Crypt. Oop, I hit plains. Well, I'm glad I'm holding another red land in hand, otherwise that'd be a huge punt. We draw a Tide Hollow Sculler, so shock. Play Terror of the Peaks. Crew up Copter. A dragon flying a helicopter. Now I've seen everything. Attack for 3. I'm not going to loot. Our opponent to 7. Okay, opponent plays a swamp. My creatures were tapped, and I was tapped out. My opponent should have at least swung Liliana. Doesn't she have lifelink? Yeah, they should have attacked. Okay, opponent plays Gonti, Lord of Luxury. I don't think we have a removal spell that's 1 mana that can kill Terror, do we? Oh, we have Flame Slash. My opponent could cast a Flame Slash. Okay, we untap. Draw Isolated Chapel. Play Tide Hollow Sculler. Okay, opponent doesn't want to show us our hand. So, they scoop it up. I don't think I make any adjustments, I'm just going to run it back. Alright, this is a fantastic aggro mono-red hand. Starting off with the stereotypical mono-red creature of Goblin Guide. I guess maybe Monastery Swiftspear might have that title now, not sure. But it plays Shelldock Isle. Okay. So start Mountain, play Goblin Guide. Go to Combat. Attack for 2. Opponent reveals Dissolve, which will likely be far too slow for use against several of our good stuff creatures. English is a very difficult language when you're as tired as I am right now. Alright, we draw Lingering Souls. Go to Combat. Attack for 2. They reveal a Dragon Lord Silumgar. Crack Marsh Flats, because that's not what they want to draw. They shock Watery Grave. And they blink of an eye to bounce Goblin Guide. Alright, play Marsh Flats. Crack Marsh Flats. Let's get a Sacred Foundry untapped. Play Crater Maker. Pass the turn. Opponent plays an island. Passes, leaving up Dissolve. We draw Pack Rat. So go to Combat. Attack for 2. Opponent takes 2. Down to 13. And we'll pass. Not giving them the opportunity to scry off of Dissolve. They play an island. We are going to try and Magma Jet them at their end step to try and hit a third land, so that we can either resolve like Stomp Guide or Pack Rat Guide or something like that. This might even be good enough to get them to cast Dissolve now. Okay. Top. Untap. We draw Isolated Chapel. So play Guide. There's Dissolve. Okay. Opponent gets to scry. Leaves it on top. Play Isolated Chapel. Play Pack Rat. Go to Combat. Attack for 2. Okay. Opponent draws whatever they scried to the top. Urza, Lord High Artificer. We untap. We draw Plains. Play a Plains. Go to Combat. And attack with both. Depending on how our opponent blocks, we can make them sad in a number of ways. Okay. Discard Lingering Souls to make Pack Rat bigger. Eat the Construct. These two push. I could actually sack this at end step to kill Urza, which maybe I should have done that. But I think being a little bit wider here is fine. Next turn, if we draw land, we can pitch a creature that we don't want to cast and then stomp Urza as well. Okay, opponent kicks an Everflowing Chalice twice and passes. We draw Thraben Inspector. Go to Combat. Attack with everybody. Okay, opponent blocks a rat. Discard Ferocidon. Make a Pack Rat. Opponent takes 5. So the only way my opponent gets out of this is if they have a Wrath. And if they have a Wrath, we can flashback Lingering Souls and Stomp, which gets us pretty close to having lethal. Okay, opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. Desperation Wheel with Urza, hitting Obnixilis, reignited. Good card, but not good here. Alright, opponent concedes, and we win the match. Whew. On for round 3. Alright, round 3, here we go. We can't keep a no-lander. I am so sorry about the frequent yawns. We'll keep this, put back Giver. Irving Confidant into Rabble Master is pretty good. I'm going to start Swamp, Crypt Breaker. Okay. We start Swamp, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Search for Iskanta and attacks for 1. We take 1, go to 19. We untap. We draw Dreadbore, so play a Mountain, play Confidant. Pass the turn. Opponent mills an island with Search for Iskanta. Evidently they have enough land in hand. They play a swamp. They do not attack. We untap. We don't lose any life because we hit an Isolated Chapel, and we hit Kroxa. So play Chapel, because it's what we revealed. Play Kroxa. Opponent has to discard. They discard a swamp and take 3 damage. Then we play Kytheon. Pass the turn. No attacks. Opponent discards a Lightning Strike to make a zombie. They mill Spellskite. They play an island. Oh my god, I'm yawning like every sentence now and it's horrible. The Hero's Downfall Confidant and attack for 3. This is pretty tempting to actually trade off with the Crypt Breaker, because Crypt Breaker is providing so much value. But I think we just take the damage because we should be able to outpace them very quickly. Yeah, like this turn we're going to play Rabble Master. Next turn we're either going to play Terror of the Peaks or Tide Hollow and Dreadbore. So they really don't have a good option. Hit them for 3. Okay, opponent mills an island. And they play a Bitter Blossom and pass. We untap. We draw Sacred Foundry. Yeah, I think we just resolve Terror of the Peaks. We could flip Gideon. That wouldn't be too bad. Well, either way, we're shocking this. If we play Tide Hollow now, or actually at any point during this turn, our opponent is just going to discard in response, I think. So let's attack like this. We'll leave up Kytheon activation. Protect him. Okay, opponent is not blocking the Kytheon, they're just going to block down a token. So they take 3. Kytheon flips, which is nice. We'll say Crypt Breaker has to attack, if able. And then play Terror of the Peaks. Sweet. So opponent, Search for Iskanta, they probably are going to mill just to flip. They mill an Outpost Siege. Looks like they've been stuck off red because they're 3 colors. They get a Fairy Rogue. If they don't discard to make a zombie pre-combat, they have to attack with Crypt Breaker and they just lose him. Okay. Opponent discards Liliana of the Veil to make a zombie. We untap. We draw Black Cleave Cliffs. Oops. Play Tide Hollow. Tide Hollow looks at our opponent's hand. Terror of the Peaks kills a zombie. Okay. That was going to be pretty brutal, because our opponent's our Rabble Master would have made a token which would kill the Fairy Rogue, and we could Dreadbore the last zombie token, animate Gideon, and I think just kill my opponent. They have a lot of early creatures, which kind of makes me want a Shivan Fire and Sunlance. I think I'm just going to run it back, though, because I'm running on minimum brain power right now, and I just don't want to like have to worry about what I need to be sideboarding versus what I don't. Sand is super slow. Yeah, I think I gotta mulligan this. This is significantly better. I'm going to put back Terror of the Peaks. Opponent starts Creeping Tar Pit. We start Kytheon, Hero of Akros. So we'll clear the way with Magma Jet, land Rabble Master, and just have a good old-fashioned Boros beatdown. Opponent plays a mountain and passes. Draw Tide Hollow Sculler. Unfortunately, we do not have black mana. So go to combat, attack for 2. Okay, opponent takes 2. We're just going to pass because my opponent probably has a Censor or something of that nature. We'd like them to play something. City of Brass is good for us, considering we are trying to win with damage. Okay. They play Hypnotic Spectre, which gets Magma Jetted with Extreme Prejudice. I'm telling you, man, don't summon demons over a volcano. It's a bad idea. Plains to the bottom. I kind of want Goblin Guide, though. So we untap. Play a mountain. I think we play Guide Giver this turn. Giver is just way better if we untap with it, and Rabble Master is great and all, but this is so much more damage this turn. The only downside is we can't play 2 spells next turn, but I don't think we'll need to. Opponent draws a mountain off of Goblin Guide. Opponent plays an island and passes. Okay. So we draw Sacred Foundry. I'm going to play it untapped just in case my opponent does have a Censor. Also for the intimidation factor. We'll play Rebel Master. Okay. Go to combat. Make a token. Attack. Guide reveals a Crypt Breaker on our opponent's top of their deck. Opponent takes 5. Goes to 8. Kytheon flips. We're going to give Rabble Master Indestructible until our next turn. That just feels like the meanest thing we can do. It also keeps our Gideon out of Creeping Tar Pit range. Not that that matters, but... Opponent flashes in a Sea Dasher Octopus. Opponent plays a Demonic Embrace on that Octopus. The very scary Demon Octopus. Opponent has to stay back to block though, right? Nope. They're attacking. And they concede, giving us our entry fee back. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This one was kind of fun to draft. A little bit different. Doing some Mardu stuff instead of just straight up fun police. So I feel like we had some cool synergies and it was a good time. Anyway, if you guys want to see more Modern Cube, please let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. And remember, you can follow me on Twitch, same username on there as you find me over here. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, usually. I've had to do a couple of ones at slightly different times during the day, but I try and post ahead of time on Twitter, in my Discord, or on YouTube. So, anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!